Hello everyone, I am Priya and I am very excited to bring you a brand new playlist on HTML and CSS. We will start from scratch and go all the way to advanced topics with the real projects along the way. So if you don't know anything about web development, no worries, this series is just perfect for beginners. By the end of this videos, you will have a complete knowledge of HTML and CSS, which is enough to crack any level of interview and to confidently start with the JavaScript and React.js. Because my JS and React.js playlists are already live, but you cannot start with the JS or React.js without having the knowledge of HTML and CSS. So by the end of this HTML and CSS playlist, you will be having sufficient knowledge to clear any level of interview and to start with your JS and React.js journey. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. So we are not going to directly start with the coding part because as a front-end developer, we should learn these fundamental concepts. So you can go through these terms. First, we are going to understand network, web, website, web client, web server architecture, internet, how actually these websites are working, means behind the scenes we will understand DNS, IP address, many more things. And to explain all these terms, I have created one simple animation. So the topic will be a lot interesting. So I want you guys to pay the attention properly. So let's jump to our first term. First, we need to understand what is network. So let me show you a simple way to understand what a network is and how the internet is just a massive version of that. So we have to imagine one scenario over here. Let's say I have one computer here and on the system, I'm running a website like youtube.com. Now let's say there are 3 more computers which are accessing this youtube.com. Now, from my system where YouTube is hosted, 3 other systems are accessing it. Hosted means what? See guys, in your system also you might be having different folders, your images, your documents, right? Can I access directly that documents from your system? No, I cannot access. So, hosting means making your resource live. So, whoever wants it, they can access it. Now, if you wanted to access youtube.com, you will open the browser, you will search in the address bar youtube.com and you will get it, right? So, this youtube.com website is live, hosted. So, that's why we are able to access it. So, here we have to imagine that this youtube.com is hosted over here and all other systems are using that youtube.com. Okay. So, this setup where one system is connected to multiple others and they are sharing the data is what we call it as a network. Now, in this case, total 4 systems are involved in this network, correct? So, this system is accessing the data from this system. Again, this second computer is accessing the data from this computer. Again, third is also accessing the data. And when you expand this idea globally, millions of computers and devices all connected and sharing the information, that's what we call the internet. So here I have given the overview. One system running YouTube. So this system inside which YouTube is present. Okay, the data is present. And this is what we call it as a server. The computer which serves the data. That is what we call it as a server. Okay, you can imagine this like a hotel. Inside a hotel, we will ask for food or some services, right? So the hotel will provide that service to us, correct? So your hotel is the main server in which data is present and the other users can access the data. Here, in the similar way, this is the system in which data is present and other computers are accessing it. So this is your server. Okay. 3 systems connecting to it means these 3 are the clients. Next, connections between them. form a network. So this connection is what we call it as a network. And the global version of this network is the internet. So I hope I am clear with the meaning of what is network and internet. Network is just a connection between the computers to share the data. So when we have created this global network across the world, this is what we call it as a internet. Okay. So now let's move towards our next terms. Now in this whole scenario which we are going to understand next, many terms we are going to cover: web, web client, web server, many things. Okay. So first we will understand what is the meaning of web client. Let's say this is our computer. Now you also might be having the computer, laptop, right? Whenever you want to access Amazon.com or YouTube.com, what you will do? First, you will open the browser, and in the browser, you will search for Amazon.com. Correct, right? I'm not asking about the app. Let's say you don't have app and you want to access it. Then you will open the browser only, right? So let me show you practically over here. See, I'll go to the browser. This is what we call it as a browser, okay? In the address bar, I'll search for Amazon.com. And if I hit enter, I will be getting the home page of Amazon application. So this is what we call it as accessing Amazon website. Okay, this is the address bar. So this I'm going to animate over here. Okay, so this is your computer in which you have opened the browser. Inside the address bar, you search for Amazon.com. Okay. So now what is web client? Your all browsers are your web client. By using browser, we are requesting for the data. What data? Amazon.com data, YouTube.com, Facebook.com. So we always request for the data by using this browser. And your browser is only called as web client. Okay. Now, whenever we send the request, Amazon.com, where the request is going? Your request will go to the DNS system, domain name system. This is just like a phone book in which each domain name is associated with the respective IP address. Now, each device, each computer will be having their own unique number. Like in your college days, you might be having the roll number, university number, right? That was unique for each student. Today also, if you want to access the complete details of that student, we can use that student ID and we can access it, right? So that is the unique ID for that student. In the similar way, what in all the millions of devices we have today, each device, each computer, they have their own unique address, unique ID. That is what we call it as IP address. Okay. So here, when you are requesting for some data, what data? Amazon.com. So as soon as you hit enter, multiple product images you will get, multiple data you will get, where that data is present, where that Amazon.com is present, where that website is present. That website is present into the system which has this IP address. So when we are sending Amazon.com, it will go to the DNS. It will check Amazon.com, where it is running, into this system it is running. So request will go to the same server system which has that IP address. So the system which stores the data, that is what we call it as a server computer. The system which actually has this Amazon.com website running, that is what we call it as a server computer. Okay. Or in other words, look here. This is our client computer. Why we are calling it as a client computer? Because web client software is running in this computer. Web client means browser is running in this computer. So the computer in which web client is running, and by using web client, we are requesting for some data. That is what we call it as client computer. But the computer in which web server software is running, that computer is what we call it as a server computer. So now inside this web server software, web server means we have a Tomcat. Okay, so different web server softwares we have, guys. Like how in web client we have a Chrome browser, we have a Firefox browser. All browsers are web clients only, right? So under this web servers also, multiple types of web server softwares we have. For example, Tomcat I have given. Okay, so inside this web server, let's say our Amazon application is running. So when we request for Amazon.com, when we hit enter, the request will go to the same system in which Amazon application is running. How? Because of DNS. DNS will tell, okay, Amazon.com, it is running inside the computer which has this IP address. So there the request will go. The nearest server, guys. Okay? Okay. So now when you hit enter, you are getting multiple different images, product information, right? Where those images are present? In your system? No. When you request for youtube.com, you will get n number of videos, right? Where those videos are present? In your system? No. Then the videos or the product informations will be present in the database. Each application will be having their own database. YouTube, they are managing their own database in which all the data is present. So inside this container, all the Amazon ka data is present. The product images, the product details, the customer data, the admin data, the customer reviews, the customer order history, watch history, whatever it is, guys. Everything is present in this database. It's not like there is only one container. Multiple containers will be there. Multiple databases will be there. But as of now, we have shown just one over here. Okay. Okay, but inside this, all the data is present. User has requested for Amazon.com. So we will be having one server-side logic, which will go to this database and which will fetch all the required data. All the data we don't want, only required data we want. Required in the sense, see, when we search for Amazon.com, so on homepage, some default product information we will get, right? Based on our watch history, search history, based on the items which are present into our cart. By default, we will get some product information, right? So only that much data it will fetch from the database. Let's say here, if you'd have searched for shirts, amazon.com/shirts. So server side will go to the database. It will fetch all the data related with only shirts. So that is how server side logic works. It will go to the database, only the required data it will fetch and returns. So now let's say whatever the data server side logic has fetched, it is returning to your front end like this. Oh my God. Is this understandable? Here, let's say this price they have displayed 560. This price belongs to which product? Don't know. This order now is a button. But if I click on order now, which product will be ordered? So this men's travel got displayed on above this shirt. Overlapping is there. So is this understandable? No. If Amazon will display the data like this to you, will you use Amazon? No, you won't use it, guys. So that's why we stored the data so well into the database. We are managing it properly. The server side is fetching only required data. But on front end, this is what we call it as a front end. Because this is the client computer, correct? Client won't see this logic. This logic is not visible to the client. This is the client computers, right? So client will only watch this part. So the part of application which is visible to the client, that is what we call it as a front end. Because this logic is not visible to client. This computer is only not visible to client. So to client, what is visible? This part of the application. This is what we call it as a front end of application. Now check how we have displayed the data on the front end of application. Is it properly structured, styled, organized, understandable? No. So we are not giving a good user interface and a good user experience to the client. So basically, client will stop using your application. So that is where your HTML, CSS and JavaScript technologies comes into the picture. So now let's say this data we have fetched from the database. We have given this data to the front-end technologies. So in this front-end technologies, we can decide how we want to structurize the data, how we want to style it. Basically, we are going to design our front end of application, which is directly visible to the client. Front end is the presentation layer. Okay, this is the first impression of our application to the client. So we will design this, we will pass the data to the front end tech, and the front end tech will display the proper data like this. So now check how understandable, how structured it is. So this presentation, the user interface, will give you a good user experience to the user, to the client, guys. So that's why in this, we are going to cover HTML, CSS and JavaScript. This part is your database part. So if you are using SQL or MongoDB, it depends. Accordingly, you have to learn this particular technology. My SQL and MongoDB playlist is already live. If you want it, just do let me know in the comment. I will share the link of that playlist to you. So we will be learning how to design the presentation layer of any application by using these three technologies. So if you wanted to go through the definitions regarding the complete explanation, you can go through here. So just revise what is web client, web server, internet, DNS, web, URL and domain name. If you have any doubt with respect to these terms, if you wanted to learn something else about any term, you just do let me know in the comments. I will respond with the proper explanation about that particular concept. So this is all about our video, guys. From the next video onwards, we are going to start with our coding journey with HTML. Once we cover the HTML, we'll start with the CSS. My JavaScript playlist is already live. JavaScript plus React.js, both, guys. So thank you for this video. We'll meet in the next video.